to How Original Podcast. Today, we're covering Bird Box.
Hey, Pat. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
It's my bird in a box.
Yeah, we were texting back and forth making a lot of Bird Box jokes. A lot of, I'd like to be in that bird's box.
I want to talk about birds and boxes.
Yes.
And...
So, okay, I hadn't seen this movie until the other night. Which, by the way, I came back from my friend's place after having watched the 2.5-hour new Mission Impossible. It was after midnight, and I'm like, I'll watch the first scene of Bird Box. Stayed up and watched the whole thing, went to bed at almost 3 in the morning.
Wow.
Does anyone say the phrase Bird Box? They say the birds a lot.
Oh, you're right.
I don't think they say the phrase, give me the bird box.
Nobody has the courage to utter the title.
And we'll litigate the logic of this movie later.
Yeah.
I don't think they need the birds whatsoever. They already know that they can't look when they go outside or else they'll die. Why do they need the birds to say when it's specifically near?
Right, because we'll talk about it. That's a great question, though.
So, arguably the whole titular conceit of the movie is not needed.
Yeah. It seems like just an excuse for her to have some birds in a box.
It's like they were really attached to the idea of wouldn't it be cool if they carried around birds without thinking about they don't actually need this.
Right.
All they need is the 80% opaque blindfolds that somehow still let in a bit of vision but protect you from the demon thing.
Right, they're doing like grounders rules with this shit where it's like they used to play grounders. Everyone's fucking peeking during grounders, dude. They're definitely peeking. They can see a little bit. So it's like, the rule is you can see a little bit of the monster.
Anytime I played a split screen video game and my friends have been like, no peeking, I'm like, wink. I'm not gonna. Of course you fucking peek.
Yeah.
Unless you love losing.
You literally can't.
But if you're watching this podcast right now on YouTube or Spotify, you like winning. I know that all of you motherfuckers peeked during GoldenEye.
Yes. And peek at this too.
Yeah, take a peek.
Take a peek on our on YouTube.
This is a video episode.
If you're just listening to the audio, take a peek.
You might as well be listening on cassette if you're just gonna listen.
Yeah, we're a pro screen peeking pod.
We are. So we actually have a lot of different Netflix topics to discuss before Bird Box. So I'd like to bring something to your attention. Then we'll talk about the Ringer article about how Netflix has won the streaming wars and the revival of the USA Network Suits. And then we'll briefly touch on Netflix doing video games.
Yeah.
And then we'll get into Bird Box.
Okay.
So George, Netflix lied to us. This is an expose. They would have us believe that their intro sound was constructed from a ring knocking against a dresser, when, in actuality, it is a sample from the final scene of House of Cards Season 2, wherein Kevin Spacey as Frank Underwood knocks on a desk, and they've clearly sampled that noise and then slightly modified it.
Oh, shit.
But they would have us believe that it has nothing to do with House of Cards.
Wow.
So this was brought to my attention by a fan of the podcast, friend of the pod and longtime friend of mine, Trenton, and when I played the clips beside each other, undeniable that they sampled it.
Oh, damn.
And it's just so crazy that they've now constructed this whole narrative that presumably multiple people within Netflix have worked on this psyop that's like, oh no, it's not from House of Cards, it's an original sound effect.
Right, this is like the moon landing, dude. This is a cover-up.
So it's like, can we trust Netflix at all now if they're just going to lie to us flagrantly?
Right. See, this is why I think the moon landing is real, where it's like, you can never get the entire organization to comply and perpetuate this lie. Where it's like, this clearly leaked. You know what I mean?
If there was anything illegitimate about the moon landing, Russia would have exposed that at the time during the Cold War. Like, they would have been fucking all over that.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Anyway, hold on, I think it's in this video. I'm just going to play it and hopefully pick up on mic.
Oh, shit.
And Netflix will have us believe that their intro sound is not this, with some extra reverb and like fade out stuff.
Okay, this might be like Mandela effect shit, where it's like, because I'm not super, my memory of like, so when did the Netflix sound actually start to come into play? Because
I'm
was it
pretty
not in
sure
place during that already? Like
I never watched House of Cards, so I don't think it was in place until, well, whenever House of Cards season 2 finished airing, they plucked that sound from it and put it as their intro sound.
Like what I'm saying is, could it be the other way where they're actually putting that sound into House of Cards retroactively, right? I don't know. Could that be possible? Like, I'm just saying, it could be a possibility, right? Because that would also be, because it was Netflix original content, so it's like, are they trying to sort of put their own little branding on it in that way by like including that sound? Because that also seems like a weird and specific sound for a hand to make when he knocks on the desk, right? Where it's, anyway, what I'm saying is, I could see it going the other way too. You know what I mean?
Okay, so I'm seeing some conflicting accounts. Someone on Reddit said it was first used in House of Cards Season 1, Episode 1.
Oh.
As House of Cards was the first episode.
It does seem like a little unnatural for that sound. Like, I mean, they definitely added that sound in post either way, I think.
Yes.
So, to me, it could go the other way. I still have questions. I don't know.
Okay,
I
haven't solved this conclusively, but nonetheless, I think it's I think there is a way to acknowledge, like, yes, we don't condone Kevin Spacey's actions and he doesn't work with his company anymore, but at the same time, to deny the legacy of their first big show.
Yeah.
I don't know, how much should they rewrite their own history? Like,
right.
I think it's possible to acknowledge, like, this show was very important to us and it did build our brand, but knowing what we know now, of course, we're not going to do further business with Kevin Spacey and we don't condone any of his actions.
Right. Netflix doesn't want their own House of Cards to talk
No. Netflix is all a House of Cards.
Whoa. Interesting. Yeah, now I want to do more digging into this now.
I don't want to say this is going to become my Zapruder film, but it totally is.
Zapruder sounds, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'll stop trying to read and solve it live on pod. But anyway, listeners, I encourage you to do your own research.
Yes.
Do you think Netflix lied to us? Do you believe that they did create this sound in a lab with a ring knocking against a dresser?
Yes.
What are the timelines here? Who can say when this current version of the Netflix sound came into effect? Sound off. HowOriginal604@gmail.com. HowOriginalPodcast on Instagram.
Yeah, if you find anything.
Yes, I would love to. I would love to chop it up with some of you guys in the DMs.
Yes.
So next order of business: the year Netflix ended the streaming wars. Posted on the Ringer on December 14th of last year, and the subheader: after a shaky 2012 in which it seemed like competition was finally getting to Netflix, the company proved time and time again that it has a hold on viewers like no other. So they cite kind of an interesting example in this article. The TV show Suits.
Yes, which my brothers are fully
they're
on
Suits
right
filled.
now. They're so Suits filled.
So Suits is really having a second life through its addition to, I guess, American Netflix, but I think it was also put back on Canadian Netflix.
Well, yeah, my brothers are watching it, yeah.
So it's available for more people than it was in the past. And, okay, the show repeatedly surpassed 3.5 billion viewing minutes in a single week, setting a new record for acquired titles on the platform.
Whoa.
That's crazy.
I mean, yeah, it's such a...
That is so much Suits.
I think when I watched Suits, I was watching it illegally on like, random servers
As
online.
you should.
Yeah.
If the premise of the show is one of the characters is doing business illegally, you're allowed to stream it illegally.
It's like the System of a Down steal this album.
Yeah. you stole that album.
Yeah. Yes, and what I was going to say was... This is such a bingeable show. Like,
it is.
Obviously, that term's like super cringy and overused, but like it truly is a bingeable show. Where it's like it's such easy watching.
It doesn't make you work too hard.
It goes down so smooth. It's a very kind watch, and like every episode sort of leads into the next. It like fades out and fades in. Just enough that like you're invested in the plot, but like it's still easy watching enough that like you can turn your brain off
Yes.
Right?
Oh, totally.
If it makes you feel smart for watching it.
Yes.
When really it's dumb as shit.
It's like, yeah, it's a show that occupies the perfect niche of like, it knows it's not prestige television. It's not trying to be. But it's just smart enough that it flatters you a bit as a viewer where you're like, I'm connecting these dots. I could probably be a lawyer.
Yes. I can represent myself in court.
Yeah. Apparently the show is really having a TikTok moment as well, and people are making lots of TikToks about it. Now, I wouldn't know about this, but I would love to ask one of your younger brothers if they're seeing Suits-themed stuff on TikTok. Are people making Harvey Specter Sigma edits?
Right. Is Harvey my brother's Riz idol right now?
Harvey Specter. That's a good name.
It's a great name.
I do think, one thing about Suits that kind of annoyed me though back in the day is like, they make Harvey out to be the coolest guy.
Yeah.
He's this alpha lawyer, he fucks all these women, he doesn't have a relationship, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, other shows will set up the mythology of a character who looks externally perfect, like Don Draper in Mad Men, or Christian Troy in Nip Tuck, and then show like, this person's fucked up. But as far as I can tell, nothing bad ever happened to him in Suits.
No.
He didn't have like a tragic upbringing or anything, right? He's just like, I've always been the man. What was Harvey's deal? Like, I don't think he had any flaws or anything he was like compensating for. It's just like, what if one guy was the coolest?
I think it is like basically the Christian Grey narrative.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever got into the
like,
50 Shades series, but like it's just
No, I never got into that.
He is this way because there is usually something of like he was neglected as a child a little bit.
Some sort of traumatic event that made this male character construct their persona.
Yeah, and so they're emotionally kind of dissociated.
Yeah.
But I mean that's the worst thing about them, right? It's like, and so all you need is a really a nice lady to fix that.
Well, in
really.
Suits, wasn't there what's the chick's name? Scotty, who had the on again, off again thing with Harvey. Yeah,
exactly.
But so he was just too cool.
So once she gets into the picture and she gets,
wait, does he end up with her in the end?
Probably, I don't know.
I'm guessing probably.
I don't think I ever finished that.
No, I certainly did not.
But that's the arc of that character, right?
Yeah.
Emotionally uninvolved until this perfect woman comes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Netflix also still boasts the largest subscriber base of any streaming platform at about 250 million.
Yeah.
Netflix
holding it down.
Netflix leads ahead of Amazon by about 50 million subscribers, and then we have Disney Plus trailing at 150 million, and then services like Max, Hulu, Apple Plus, Apple TV Plus, and Paramount Plus lagging behind with under 100 million.
Okay.
So content on Netflix, like if you're licensing content, you want it to get a second life on Netflix, which is going to be where you'll see the biggest revival. And the top 10 feature is apparently, in this article, it's referred to as like the most valuable real estate in any of the streaming world.
Yeah. That makes total sense. Because I think this show, it was on USA, right? So it's like, it probably didn't get a lot of eyeballs on it when it was actually on TV. Not enough that there was like a cultural conversation.
I was going to say, this show has had no cultural impact until very recently.
Yeah, and also, I mean, this is to Netflix's credit for reviving it to this extent, obviously, but I do think the Meghan Markle controversies also have helped it to become revived.
I do think the failing Meghan Markle is a part of it, but I like to imagine, even without any of the Meghan Markle baggage, that it would still have a surge of interest.
No, I think so.
Ever since the inception of the top 10, the feature has both measured and perpetuated popularity, creating kind of internal word of mouth for movies and shows on the platform. And I think that's such a savvy move on Netflix's part, because you have this innate thing where it's like, I want to see what other people are watching.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if this is number 2 in my country, I want to know what the deal is.
Right.
It's like, everybody can't be wrong. I need to be part of this conversation. So it's this very human urge to want to follow.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously it's free for Netflix to do. Like, they already have all their data. They say in this article, like, we don't put our finger on the scales. I don't know if I believe that or not, but...
okay. That's probably why they wanted to release that recent, like, list of, like, the numbers, right? The raw data to sort of prove that they maybe don't put their finger on the scales, right?
Yeah, totally. And in this article, there's also an interesting point that the writer makes about how like, if you want to see Marvel or Disney content, you go to Disney Plus. If you want to see Bravo content, you go to, like, Peacock. But Netflix is kind of a good home for, like, you want to watch something, you don't know what you want to watch.
Yeah.
It's like people go to that platform often with no final goal in mind, and then they are checking out things like the top 10.
Yeah.
To have stuff recommended to them.
Yeah.
So Suits, kind of fits that description where it's like, I don't know if there are many diehard Suits fans out there looking for it, but I think a lot of people just kind of stumbled into it and they're like, oh, perfect, I can eat dinner with my family and we can watch 1 or 2 episodes of Suits every night.
Yeah.
And it's had this huge explosion.
Yeah, I thought that was a interesting thing that the author noticed. Yeah, it's like, I think Netflix, you're thumbnail shopping, right?
Yes.
Whereas with the other platforms, you're subscribing to HBO because a show just dropped on that platform.
Yeah.
That everybody's gonna want to watch, and then you unsubscribe the following month.
Same with
Disney
strike.
Plus.
Yeah.
Precision strike. Hamilton drops. You subscribe for like a month to Disney, then you're out of there, right? You've got all the fucking Disney DVDs. You're not gonna watch Star Wars bullshit, Marvel bullshit. You don't need that fucking streaming.
I like that you're saying, you'd watch Hamilton, but the well-reviewed new Star Wars shows, those are bullshit.
Well, I mean, it's
I haven't seen them, but I've heard good stuff about like Andor and all the Baby Yoda stuff.
I guess if you're a huge fucking nerd, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, not for me, but
yeah, like I don't know if anyone's really talking about those shows like that anymore, right? Like. I think the biggest conversations still happen around like Netflix content at the end of the day, and we also talked about how like the thumbnail, the way that they can make an old show feel fresh with the bespoke thumbnails that they
with a recently added, because you see old content and it's like, oh, I remember this, but the idea that's recently added to the platform somehow gives it some juice. It makes it exciting. It feels reinvigorated.
Yeah, but also like the actual thumbnail itself, right? Well, they'll use like a shot that's not like the known cover of that show, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like Amazon, this is the difference between Amazon and Netflix, I think.
What's the difference between you and me?
Yeah.
What's the difference between me and you? Yeah.
So Prime, they'll just put out like basically the cover of like the DVD box.
And then dust their hands and that's... Yeah. You're right, but with Netflix... Sometimes you see a piece of content, what you think is super well, and it's like, wait, what part of the movie are they pulling that shot from? And it almost creates a sense of intrigue or tension where it's like, well, I thought I knew this content really well, but now I'm seeing it kind of in a different way.
Exactly.
So Netflix still has the best user interface by far.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. And just how smooth it is, too. The frame rate is impeccable. Okay,
so I do have a complaint about Netflix, though. As the recent haver of an Apple 4K TV, I'm like, perfect, I'll watch everything in 4K, Ultra HD. Netflix doesn't let you sort by 4K content. So Netflix is always yapping about how much 4K they have, but you have to manually search the word 4K, and it only brings up some of the stuff, or you have to go through each thumbnail by thumbnail to check, is this 4K, is it Dolby Vision? Now, other platforms like Prime and Disney Plus let you sort by that tag. Yeah. So I think it's a huge mistake on their part, and it should be very easy to let people filter by that tag on the content. And if they're going to position themselves as like, we have the biggest library of this content, it's like, well, let me fucking get in there.
Right.
So that's a little gripe I have. But aside from that, their user experiences, bar none, I would say, in streaming.
Totally. They must have a specific reason for not letting you sort in for 4K.
It's because I'm too close to figuring out the real story of their sound, so they're shutting down my account. I'm gonna log in and it's like, you have been permabanned from posting in r/Netflix. Yeah. I'm so distracted trying to figure this whole sound thing out. I think it's very possible, but I do agree with what you say. Maybe it was, constructed somehow independent of that set. I don't fucking know.
That sound to me seems like a pre-written. Like, I feel like they had that sound isolated.
Right.
And then they inserted it into that scene.
Because
like a tip of the hat.
I do wonder with like the Foley work, like the insertion of all the sound effects, like in old Hollywood, I feel like you had a common bank of things that you're pulling from, like the Wilhelm scream that's been used in a ton of movies, but now it's like, you can create all sorts of like bespoke stuff. Yeah. But I mean, maybe that did exist as an intro they had created, and then they decided to drop it in House of Cards as kind of a wink wink.
Right.
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
I think it is disingenuous, though, for them to not acknowledge the House of Cards legacy or not clarify.
I never really fully bought the ring story. Does seem way too tiny.
It did seem a little tenuous. I think we're reopening the case file on this one.
Yes, and with our legal knowledge that we've gained from Suits.
From Suits. We are prepared to take this to trial. So one other thing I want to talk about. Netflix has games. You're a known gamer. How do you feel about this?
Well, we talked about this a little bit before recording. But like, I think Netflix should stay in their lane, man. I don't think that they should take this upon themselves. Also, you know, they gotta invest more in what they do best, which is I think they figured out their niche already. It's documentaries, right? It's a prestigious Oscar nominated movie here and there with but you know, mostly a bunch of kissing booth bullshit.
Primarily.
And I just don't think they should spread themselves so thin.
Because, okay, so it seems like a lot of Canadian, UK, and American subscribers don't have access to it yet. I think some people are beta testers, unsure if you had to enroll or if you were just chosen. Because a lot of apps will roll out new stuff randomly. Like Instagram is kind of famous for like some of its users get an update, whereas others don't. It's not all at the same time. So all I was able to find was like trivia and a couple really simple kids games, it looks like.
And they've licensed a few games from like
Grand Theft Auto
publishers. So I downloaded the game starring James McAvoy called 12 Minutes, which is like a time looping game. That was pretty like hot.
You know how I feel about time stuff.
I know. I don't love it either. And this became a very reused concept actually in video games, is the concept of like the time loop. So like you're replaying the same loop over and over, and you have to like change your fate somehow.
Fellas, is that not just everyday life?
Yeah, bro.
Every day is exactly the same by 9 Inch Nails.
It's a Groundhog Day.
The Groundhog Day of it all. So apparently Netflix has made a game called Oxenfree, which is regarded as like maybe their best title or one of their best ones, and now they've made or are about to release a sequel.
So I don't know if they made Oxenfree.
I
think that's also one of their licensed games. They platformed it,
Because I did hear they pulled away some talent from like traditional video game studios, and they do want to create their own AAA title now.
Right.
Which
seems
crazy to me.
Look, I'm gonna play it probably.
Of course.
If they do that. And I'll report back. But I think, Oxenfree, I don't think they had anything.
Okay, so that was not custom for Netflix.
But I think what they're doing, and maybe this is the niche that they want to sort of fill, is I think the primary way that you access and play these games is on your
mobile.
Phone. So getting the Netflix app, right?
Yes.
So, Netflix is pushing their app a little bit more now with like, how you can like download content through the app. I think they want more people using the app. Because
it was a big deal when Netflix first said, we allow you to download things offline for a flight. That really changed the game. So maybe the mobile games, like you'll look around on an international flight and see everybody playing their fucking Netflix game.
Dude, have you ever fucked around with any of those like flight games?
Oh, buddy, I got so into those in the summer when I was traveling a lot. I got really into playing Sudoku on the screen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was gonna say I'm becoming a bit of a boomer. I'm like,
twisted.
I don't want to play video games when I fly. I'll do a crossword or a Sudoku.
Ooh.
I'll listen to a podcast. I'll read a book. I don't even really like watching movies or TV on the screen now.
Yeah.
I'll look at the plane tracker. I love the plane tracker.
I love the plane tracker, dude. I love listening to a podcast.
Yeah.
Watching the plane tracker.
I do some writing, like Google Drive or like Notes app on my phone sometimes.
Yeah.
But then depending on how close the other people are to you, you kind of have to angle it away. Like, don't read my crazy psychosexual story I'm writing right now. Random person.
Yeah, dude, I'm keeping an eye on that plane like I'm the third co-pilot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm ready to to run to that cabin.
Yeah.
And jump into the seat. Jump into the booth.
I'm there if they need me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was funny. I was at a friend's housewarming party last night, and he was talking to me about, like, so the Netflix games, hey? I'm like, I know, it's crazy. He also outed me as a podcaster, and I had to, like, explain the premise of this to everyone.
I like the way he said it. So, Netflix games, man.
We need to talk about it.
These games.
These twisted games we play. But then he was trying to find them on his computer, and, like, I think all he really managed to find was trivia.
Yeah.
It was so crazy watching him sitting across from me, could see the trivia reflected in his glasses.
Dude.
But yeah, it seemed like to everyone in that particular room at the party, it was kind of news that Netflix did games.
Right, yeah, I don't think
like a couple people were aware of trivia, but most people were like, wait, what?
They're still dipping their toes into that pool, for sure. But I think if they release their own game, the AAA game that they're planning to make, that's what's gonna, like, everyone's gonna pay attention.
Yeah. And maybe for those of us who aren't aware, what does AAA mean for a game? Like, it means it has a really big budget, right? And it's meant to be like, my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, a AAA game is meant to pull you to a particular console or platform.
Yeah.
It's like a draw, right? It's a big draw.
Yes. It's just like big budget.
Big budget.
Blockbuster, big studio.
Right.
Big ups.
Big ups.
Yeah, everything's big. The opposite of AAA batteries, I guess.
Have you heard the song Big Persona by Maxo Cream featuring Tyler, the Creator?
Oh, no, I haven't.
It's so dope. On the chorus, Tyler is just listing like big house, big cars, big pimpin', just like everything's big.
That's like, what's that song? Black cars, all black everything.
Oh, yeah. I feel like that's been quoted in many songs.
Yeah.
The idea of all black everything.
All black everything, yeah.
I just realized I'm probably kind of blending into the couch with this shirt.
You're kind of, yeah.
I don't know if there's enough contrast. I could green screen all of this.
I could blend into your blanket with this.
Yeah. You are very blanket coated right now.
Yeah,
it's giving blanket. Yeah, this is a shirt I got at a new vintage store in Penticton. So there's a Kelowna branch and they just opened in Penticton. So I got the hat and the shirt. But this is it's large, it's oversized, and it's making me think of a post I saw on r/Drizzy, the Drake subreddit, where somebody commented, "Why are Poppy's clothes so big now? Why is he hiding his body from us?"
Why are you hiding your body from us, Pat?
And one of the comments was just like, hiding his body from us is crazy.
Yeah.
And then somebody, when Drake finally addressed having a kid and he said, "I'm not hiding my kid from the world, I'm hiding the world from my son."
Right.
Somebody commented like, "He's not hiding his body from us, he's hiding us from his body."
Like the Bird Box, dude.
Yeah.
If you see Drake's body, you will KMS.
Yeah.
You will KMS on the spot.
Dude, yeah. So Bird Box, like, I did find it pretty creepy and kind of engaging.
Yeah.
But the moment I started thinking about it critically, I was like, hell no, I'm out.
Oh, you can't do that.
No.
You cannot do that with Bird
But that's
Box.
my curse. I think about everything too critically.
Yes.
I wish I could just fucking turn my brain off,
Yes.
but I'm always going.
Yeah, no, you're right. It is very engaging, and a lot of scenes are like quite disturbing and like effective.
Especially the flashbacks when you first see kind of the creatures, the entities, the mass suicides and like the panic and everything.
I like at the beginning when they just heard about like, oh, there's these like mass suicides in Russia, shit's about to go down. Sandra Bullock's like, it's just fucking Russia. It's probably kids.
And then you see the map where they do the arrow from Russia to Alaska. It's like, thanks, we needed that.
She's like, yeah, man, I don't know. It's probably just kids killing themselves
over
like their KD ratio.
It seems like a CS:GO type dilemma.
Yeah.
Do you want to take a small break and then we'll come back and start bird boxing?
Let's do it.
All right, we just gotta go put some birds in the box. We'll be right back. Okay.
All right.
Okay. We're back. George, don't look. Don't take off your blindfold.
But I want to.
I'm only going to tell you once. Don't take off your blindfold.
I need to see it.
Doing a sight gag on this podcast is crazy. People who are just listening don't know what's going on right now.
Dude, I would... If you were in the bird box... I mean, no, hold on. If you were in the in the movie Bird Box, would you, not if you were in the Bird Box, with the birds.
Imagine you are the bird.
Holy shit, dude. This is very cozy, actually.
Yeah, this is kind of nice.
I like recording like this.
I feel safe.
Yeah, I do feel very safe. I feel like I'm in a womb.
Back in the womb.
Do you think you could resist the temptation to look if you were in the
Oh, dude, I would definitely look on day one. And I'd be one of the crazy psychos drifting in a BMW 7 Series.
Like, you gotta look.
I mean, yeah, fuck. I also wonder in post-apocalypse movies, like, would I be one of the people determined to live at any cost?
Mm-hmm.
Or would I just be like, fuck it, it's over, whatever.
Right, exactly.
Okay, I have a very dumb question.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can answer this. In an event like Bird Box, how long would they have internet service for?
It's a very good question.
'Cause,
I guess as long as they have satellites, is that how that works?
I don't fully understand. Are there people going to work every day and like turning the key to ensure that the internet keeps flowing? But like,
Right.
yeah, if the satellites are intact and like the fiber optic cables and everything, how long would the internet keep pumping out?
That's a very good question.
Because like for much of the movie, they don't have any internet or communications aside from walkie-talkie.
Because she's able to use Google Maps at one point, right?
Or yeah, they're using GPS.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah, I don't know. Dude, imagine how good forum posting would be in a post-apocalypse.
Dude, yes. I mean, yeah, the Reddit would be like...
Reddit would be popping.
Popping off.
Even in a post-apocalypse, I'd be fighting with people on Reddit.
I mean, I would be spreading misinformation on Reddit.
Oh,
right?
totally.
Be like, yo, this store is still like not rated, still like totally.
Yeah.
Lots of food in there, and then they get in there, and I trick them.
Yeah. Tricksy.
And I steal their clothing. And stuff, and their weapons.
Yeah, so should we set up the premise of Bird Box? I'm also going to take the blanket off because I am getting very hot.
Okay, yes, we need to see.
I am fully hiding my body from the viewers.
We need to see the
Wire path's closed so big. Ooh. Oh, dude, you know the Talking Head song Once in a Lifetime?
Oh, yeah.
For years, my dad thought there was a lyric in it that says, "Why is my suit so big?" And then one day we were listening to it, and we're like, that doesn't appear anywhere in the song. My dad's like, oh, I guess I just made that up for years.
That's just a question he asked
But
himself,
now-
I think, upon seeing
David Byrne's suit in
his
the...
big-ass
But
suit.
my dad said he's never seen the music video, which is crazy.
So, is the music video when he had the big suit? Because I know he had the big suit during.
I think he did a
Stop
lot of
Making Sense.
performances. I think it was part of his whole branding. He was in his era, one would say. Yeah. But now every time I hear that song, when he's asking like, you know, like, how did I get here? Like, this is not your beautiful wife. This is not your big car. I'm like, the big suit line would make sense in the song. So, in my head, I've kind of made it like, why is my suit so big?
Big personality,
Yeah.
big car, big suit. Yo, I would watch the show Big Suits if it came out on Netflix.
And it's the same, but they're all just wearing huge double-breasted David Byrne suits.
Yeah. yeah. With the shoulder pads.
Okay, so, Bird Box. 2018. This came out the same year as A Quiet Place. Two movies that are very similar.
Oh, same year, huh?
A Quiet Place came out, I think, months before this, even though the source material for Bird Box predated anything Quiet Place.
Yeah.
So, A Quiet Place is a movie that asks, what if you couldn't make noise? Bird Box is a movie that asks, what if you couldn't look when you're outside, but somehow the demons can't get into a house?
Right.
Which...
sensory deprivation horror.
Yes.
Which I was saying, Don't Speak is another movie, or Don't Breathe was
Yeah.
another movie that came out around this time too.
So yeah, in Bird Box, basically there's some sort of creature, demon, entity. The lore is incomprehensible,
Right.
but essentially it's an invisible force that exists everywhere in the outside world and can...
We sort of get a hint as to what it is, where I think a lot of people, well, Sandra Bullock, at one point in the movie, starts hearing, like, her dead sister.
Yes.
And, like, Tom, her sort of
Yeah, so
partner.
near the end of the movie, it's like the creatures can speak to you in human voices. Also, we do maybe get a glimpse at what the things actually look like through the guy in the suit, the gray-haired guy, who's been corrupted by them but is still alive, and he's doing sketches.
Yeah.
And it looks like crazy shit.
Yeah, it's just
But
like,
even
It's like Patrick Bateman type drawings.
Even that is like every single sketch looked kind of different. So are we supposed to believe that each one of the creatures has a unique form?
It's bespoke.
Yeah, a one of one.
I think that's what we're meant to believe. And like, so it's because it's, I think at one point a lady thought she was hearing the creature speak with the voice of like her mother, and then she like sat down in the burning car.
Right. Yeah, so it can speak to you
in like
with whatever voice, but
your loved ones, I guess. And
one thing, sorry to cut you off, but one thing that annoyed me in this movie is the creature is never given any physical form. It's just like leaves blowing and like whispers.
Hate that shit. It's not
that
scary
felt
at all.
like a real tease because I kept waiting for like, it kept getting built up like, oh, this is gonna get revealed. What's it gonna be? And then we never see it.
Dude, it's a huge tease. I want to see, dude. That's why I would look, dude, if I was in...
Oh, I'm taking that blindfold off.
Taking the blindfold off. The movie never really takes the blindfold off of us.
No.
You know what I mean? As the viewers. And yeah, you're right. There's nothing creepy about an invisible entity. There's just nothing creepy about it. In a ghost movie, you want to see the ghost.
Yes. So, there are a lot of scenes whenever the characters are outside, they're wearing blindfolds. However, we get a lot of shots first-person POV from behind the blindfold, and they're wearing like flimsy scraps of cloth that only block out some, like they still let some light in.
Yeah.
So even that is like, okay, so they don't need to have a perfect blindfold, but they still need most of their vision obscured.
Yeah.
Even like a lot of the windows, it's like, okay, there's newspaper up, but there's like a little sliver of window left. Like, what are the rules that we're working with here?
Right, the rules that like you have to see a certain percentage of the creature to be sort of...
Yeah. But the idea is essentially everywhere outside is dangerous. You need to be indoors with all windows blocked out. Mm-hmm. I did like the spray painting of the car to drive to the grocery store.
Yeah, I like that.
I think that was an effective scene of like, rules have been established and then the characters are being creative to think, how can we survive? And
that's when they're using GPS because they plugged in the car and they're only relying on GPS to like get to the store, which is cool.
And the windows are spray painted, but they know they're like driving over corpses in the street.
See, I think in that scene we shouldn't have seen anything. We should have just been in the car.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it should have been a mystery.
Yeah,
as to what was actually happening.
Because the camera pulls out and it shows us the exterior of the car, so it shows us what it actually looks like when they're driving. But I think we should have just been in the car. If this was a better movie, I think it was like in what's that Stephen King adaptation, The Mist. Remember the end of The Mist?
Oh yeah,
where we literally don't see anything except what the protagonists see.
And then the reveal of what's actually happening in the world at large is devastating.
Exactly, which is what creates like the irony of that movie. And the creepiness, which is like, what is outside? What is this creature? I think if this movie is playing with the idea of you cannot look at this creature, then fuck it. Make us only see what the characters see in that case, right?
No, agreed.
Do a lot of close-ups, no views of the world, right?
Yeah. The exterior scenes, you have Sandra Bullock doing things like carry a string around to navigate. So we're cutting between two timelines, right? One is, the first timeline is 5 years ago when the outbreak, or whatever you want to call it, first happened. Yeah. And her and a group of survivors kind of barricaded in a specific house learning about the new world and trying not to die. And then the second timeline is her and two children navigating a rowboat down a vast river to go to some sort of promised sanctuary that she's heard about over walkie-talkie. Mm-hmm. Now, you said this worked for you, having the multiple timelines.
Yes. So I think the reason this works for me is because, I think it leaves us with enough questions in like the present timeline for it to create tension.
Okay.
Right? Where it's like, why does she have two kids? Like, did she because she's pregnant in the past timeline.
Yes.
So did she give birth to twins?
Twins!
But also she like falls on her stomach a whole lot when that car crashes. So it's like, is her child still alive even? Is that
actually
her child?
That is?
She calls them boy and girl.
Okay.
Is this even her kid?
A nitpick. So, yeah, her and her sister are coming back from the hospital, and this is when shit starts hitting the fan. Her sister somehow sees the things. Sandra Bullock doesn't, even though they don't know the rules at that time and their eyes are uncovered.
Yeah.
Her sister is driving, deliberately flips the car to try to kill them both.
Yeah.
Okay, if your car flips, you are not going to be just instantly walking out of the car because they both get out right away.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's not.
Right,
yeah.
right. As an experience.
So I didn't flip my car. Like, I was able to get out right away because I had no sort of like trauma or impact.
Right,
but
right.
yeah, I'm gonna say if your car does rotations and lands on the fucking roof, you're probably gonna be dazed and confused.
For sure. Yes.
Your name's gonna be Richard Linklater.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, and then her sister gets out and steps in front of like a garbage truck. But yeah, somehow that doesn't affect Sandra Bullock's pregnancy.
No, that was pretty whack.
She's
I thought at least the movie would have raised the tension about her pregnancy at that point, but nothing. Like her baby's fine. Nothing's brought up about like, is everything okay?
Right. Yeah, I guess we're just supposed to assume, it's fine. She walked it off.
Which I did not. I was very concerned.
Right. Okay, so my issue is I don't think the two timelines work. And honestly, I think the timeline where all the survivors are in the house kind of sucks. And I think there are too many characters in the house for them to all be developed. It should have been a smaller crew of people.
I think it could have been smaller.
So here's my idea for a rewrite. First of all, the kids, boy and girl, I don't fucking buy for a second that they'd be given such generic names because why is Sandra Bullock doing that? To attempt to not get attached to the kids? But then she says later in the movie, everything I've done is for the children.
Right, so
she's going to great lengths to keep the kids alive. So I think they're trying to invoke a little bit of like Cormac McCarthy's The Road where the characters are just man and boy.
Yeah.
But I don't think it has any of that gravitas or sense of stakes.
Because I think one of the themes was her, I guess like one of the themes in the movie. Because at the beginning she's pregnant, but she like doesn't want to be a mom. Because I think she's thinking about like maybe putting her kid up for adoption when she actually has the kid. So I think one of the kind of
she's
her character development.
She's pro-life, but also pro-adoption.
Yeah. So her character development is like becoming, I think, a real mother. So and the idea of her not giving the kids names, and as you said, like she is adept at like keeping them alive. But at the end, it's like you need to also love them so that they trust you, right? Because at the end, the girl almost like takes her blindfold off when the monster starts like whispering to her, right? But she needs to prove her love to the girl, right?
Right.
So I think that actually kind of worked for me. I don't know, but it doesn't sound like it worked for you. But.
No, it didn't work for me, and I would argue everything in those 5 years is proving that she is becoming a mother who is attached to these kids, and like, if she truly was concerned about her own survival and not the kids, I mean, she could just ditch them or leave them somewhere. Okay, so I think the kids don't have distinct enough personalities. I think the kids need to be a bit older. They need to be given some scenes that can kind of show their distinct personalities from each other. They blend together too much to the point where it's like, couldn't it just be one kid, like her own kid? Why does she need to start raising that other character's kid?
I know.
Why do they need to be the exact same age? That thing didn't work for me.
Well,
also,
I thought just to go off of that, I think it's such a missed opportunity because I thought the whole reason that they had the two kids was for that moment when she's rowing the boat and she has to use one of the kids to see because they're about to enter the rapid section of the level.
Arguably, I was thinking, wouldn't it make more sense for Sandra Bullock to just look herself?
Right.
Because I kept thinking, I thought where that was going, one of the kids is going to mix up their lefts and rights.
Right.
Because they're facing different directions and it's going to somehow...
Oh, shit.
And then it's like, well, the rapids, it didn't even matter who was looking or who wasn't. They were going to capsize anyway.
Yeah, well, that's what was...
So what the fuck are we even doing
That's what was stupid about it. I was with it until the point where, like, well, fuck it. None of us will look. I love you both equally. Yeah. Where it's like, no, you made me invested in this idea of which kid are you going to choose to possibly die. So you have to choose now. I think that would have been an interesting thing for her character, where it's like, do you choose... Because one of the other kid is, like... one of the people in the past also has a kid but then dies.
Yes,
so she
one of the survivors that she was barricaded in this house with.
Yeah.
Kind of the first level.
Yeah. So she raises that kid also as her own, the girl. And so when we are revealed that that girl is that other lady's kid and the boy is her own kid, then the movie flashes back to the present, to that moment when she has to choose. And that's when the tension comes in, right?
Yeah.
Is she going to choose her kid or the other lady's kid because she promised she's going to protect that kid? But the movie just throws it out the window, and Sandra Bullock says, fuck it, let's just all keep her blindfolds on. We'll see what happens. Where it's like,
my God.
No, you should have made her character make that
choice.
I
agree.
Yeah. Honestly, it would have been worth it if it followed through with it.
Yes. So I think if I were writing this movie, I would have basically chosen the river timeline. And then, so I would have kept Tom alive for a lot of the river timeline. So it would have been him and Sandra Bullock's relationship, them disagreeing about how to raise the kids at certain points, them telling stories about the past of the kids. Then we could have spliced in select flashbacks. But I just feel like the river stuff is far more tense. Stakes are far higher. You really feel the sense of vulnerability and kind of helplessness.
Right.
Especially when you have like the scene with the redhead bearded guy calling out to them and approaching the boat, and then Sandra Bullock is shooting the gun at him and slicing him with a machete, but she can't take her blindfold off.
That was good.
That stuff is good. So I would have had that, and then we would have had maybe 1 or 2 flashbacks to the house situation, but it's like, the house didn't really work as well for me.
I like the house. I think the house made it more fun. I thought the dynamic between the survivors was like fun, because I think if it was just the river,
it's pretty.
You're
grim.
right. It could have been a better movie, which is like why I think The Quiet Place was like a better movie. But it didn't have any of that fun like banter between Machine Gun Kelly and Sandra Bullock.
Yo, it's crazy that
John Malkovich. He was a good character.
That MGK and the girl he fucks just steal the car.
Yeah.
I feel like there almost wasn't enough resolution with that.
I know.
People weren't like angry enough about that.
Yeah, dude. I thought the past timeline was fun, and I thought it did create tension because we know at the end all these people die. So it's like, how did they die? What happens to make them die?
Right, because we know that they're not along. We know that they presumably die, or at least Sandra Bullock chooses to leave.
Right.
So they're not along for the journey forever. So it's kind of like, how are they going to get phased out? What was I going to say? Okay, so the rules of the monster or the threat, I kind of mentioned earlier. It doesn't make a ton of sense to me because this thing is kind of everywhere. It's kind of invincible, but if you close the doors and put newspaper on the windows, it can't come in.
Yeah.
So, okay, any scene where they're opening the door to allow somebody else in, are we to think that the monster can come in and follow them?
Right, that's a great question. I mean, why isn't it able to go inside?
Because the scene where the intruder's kind of like possessed, quote unquote, he opens up the garage door and John Malkovich is freaking out. So it's like, if a door is open, it can come inside?
But also, who cares if it's around you, right? Because Sandra Bullock's outside in the whole river timeline, and the monster's around her, right?
Yeah, presumably at all times.
Yeah.
And we see 1 or 2 scenes of like the birds freaking out, and it's like, just keep your blindfolds on. So
it can be around you. It's just
so why do you even need the bird box if you're just going to cover your eyes at all times?
Yeah, for sure. Why do you need to know it's around? You're assuming it's around already because you have the blindfolds on constantly. It would make more sense if you could take the blindfolds off, and then when the birds start chirping or whatever, then you put the blindfolds on. Right.
I think that would have been a more interesting mechanic. If it's like once the birds start chirping, you have like seconds to put your blindfold back on.
I mean, that's
your see-through blindfold.
Yeah. That's the video game of it, right?
Yeah.
If you're making a video game of this movie, a Netflix original video game, they should just make this into a video game. The Bird Box survival horror.
So they've made a Bird Box Barcelona, like a Spanish movie that somehow is in the same universe. And I think there's going to be a Bird Box too.
What?
But I think a survival horror game like that could be interesting.
Yeah, cool.
I was going to say also, the Bird Box challenge.
Yeah.
So people were trying to do tasks blindfolded and like holding onto string and stuff, and Netflix had to put out a statement being like, "Do not do this. Do not Bird Box." And just before you arrived, I was watching a video on the Guardian's YouTube where they were explaining it, and all the comments were like complaining about Pokemon Go, natural selection, saying how stupid people are.
I think people should have Pokemon Go'd Bird Box challenge. You do Pokemon Go blindfolded. That's the real. That's how the real ones should do it.
Oh. Yeah.
What's the bird in Pokemon? Tweety or something? Sparrow. The Pokemon bird.
Oh, is it just called Sparrow?
It's like something. It's always a little off, right?
You looked up Pokemon bird. I think it's in the top left of those images. All these are new made-up Pokemon.
Yeah.
Hot take, I kind of only acknowledge like the first 2 generations of Pokemon.
Oh yeah.
They've made hundreds of Pokemon since. Look up Pokemon Bird first gen.
This one, yes.
Yeah. Pharaoh, Sparrow, Furo. What the fuck's that guy's name? Why are you looking at a PNG of this?
.png.
I don't want to create any animosity on the pod, but I would say I'm a bit better at Googling things than you are.
Spiro.
Okay,
It's always a little off, right?
Yeah. That's when they did Ekans, snake backwards.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Mach is a crazy Pokemon. It's just like, what if a pile of sludge had arms?
Yes, Mach, dude.
That was kind of me in university. What if a pile of sludge had arms?
Mukbang.
Yeah, so I do think there were scenes in this movie that did achieve tension, and especially the idea of encountering other survivors but not being able to trust them.
Right, yeah.
The idea of like, are these people going to kill us, steal our resources, rape us?
Because the other mechanic was, so when you see the creature, some people, they KMS, whereas some other people, I guess, people that are built different.
It's like people who are mentally ill somehow are able to see it and survive, but now they want to show other people because they think it looks beautiful.
Yeah. They're like people who just watched White Lotus for the first time. You gotta watch this. And you gotta see this.
The movie, people who are like, how have you not watched Game of Thrones? You need to watch it.
Yeah.
The mechanic wherein people's eyes change.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a visible change.
Yes.
So I was a bit unclear when they let the dude into the house. Wouldn't they see it in his eyes if he's already been exposed?
So at that point, they didn't know about the eyes.
Oh, okay. They didn't know.
Because they'd only encountered one of these people, and they didn't quite see his eyes, I don't think, or make a note of it.
Okay.
So they would have seen him, but by the point, by the end, when they get to the safe house, right? When she gets to the safe house with the kids,
they're shining a flat. Yeah, they're checking.
So they've clued in.
Even though, have we ever seen an instance? Yeah, I don't know. Okay, I'm just trying to make sense of this all, because 99% of people, when their eyes turn, they instantly kill themselves. They have no desire, it seems, to harm other people, unless it's a situation like Sandra Bullock riding with her sister in the car. She's like collateral damage.
Yeah.
But then, so, okay, when the 2 cars show up and Tom does his final stand, those are people who have all been exposed to it and they want to show Tom.
I think we're meant to believe that,
Yeah.
Or maybe not, actually. I don't know.
Because I don't think they made it clear enough what was actually going on with those people in the cars. What was their end game?
I mean, I guess there could be another subset of people that are like, they're not inoculated. And they haven't been infected by the thing, and they're just like in it for themselves, right? They're
because they seemed like they were all collaborating and working as a group, whereas the way
with like the tinted windows in their car, maybe that's
maybe.
But I don't know. No, I guess we're meant to believe.
But the way they were driving around and fucking drifting, I don't think that's how you would be driving if you couldn't see shit.
Exactly. So I feel like we're meant to believe they were infected.
Right.
Yeah.
But then I guess when we've seen instances of other people who are infected trying to recruit more, they were kind of lone wolves.
That's true.
Or we were supposed to believe that, like, oh, these people are so insane, they, like, don't even know what's going on.
Right. Yeah.
The lore doesn't work for me.
Yeah, it's very weird.
Did you see one of the people who worked on the movie did actually develop concept art for what he thought the creatures would look like, and they chose to never physicalize it?
Oh, really?
Look up Bird Box creature.
Okay.
And I think I'll show you if it's the picture I'm thinking of.
.png.
Yeah, .png, because we need to put it in a file later. We need to put it on a white background. Yeah, so it's like the baby.
That's
the
sick.
cursed baby.
That's sick, dude. They should have.
Which I think is supposed to be some sort of tie into like the themes of pregnancy and like
Yeah.
cosmic horror. Right? Imagine if they put that little fella in the movie.
That's very creepy, dude. They should have.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is all the concept art that guy like shows, right?
Right, which is, I think the concept art would have been creepier if he was constantly drawing the same thing over and over.
Yeah, totally. I think so too.
Because when we have the flashes of concept art, we're like, we still don't really know what this looks like.
No, because they're all very different.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, the point.
Right, that there are a multitude.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at the end of the movie, they finally get to Sanctuary.
Yes.
And it's revealed to be a school for the blind.
Yeah.
Where most of the people, but not all of them, are blind.
Yeah.
Why would you put a school for the blind in the remote, heavily wooded wilderness by a river?
Right.
Is that where you would send blind people?
I guess
I do not think that's where we should put blind people, personally. I think non-sighted people should not have a super remote school.
Yeah. I don't think so either.
But it would be kind of dope to be blind in this Bird Box timeline, just walking around like, fuck you, monster, you can't get me.
Yeah, like the only explanation I can think of for that is like, this was a place that was accessible by road and it's close to a town, but like the vegetation grew around it.
But that's only
took
5 years.
But that doesn't make sense either. So it's very weird.
It would have to be way longer for a 5-year time jump for me to believe that like this was accessible by road, but like all the infrastructure has fallen apart.
Yeah.
Or they could have established that on the walkie-talkie, like, yeah, there used to be this road, but it's all overgrown, jammed up with cars and corpses, so come by the river.
I mean, the whole ending is contrived, as
yes.
I texted you, and I think, so the school for the blind thing is part of that, where it's like, you could have had a community of blind people that are in like a safe house. It doesn't necessarily have to be a school.
Why is it a
for
school
the
for the blind?
Why does everything have to be so tidy and like fit together so well? You know, it's not everything has to be like this twist, right?
No.
And then at the end, the doctor who was like supervising
the
Sandra
gynecologist,
Sandra Bullock's gynecologist from the beginning of the movie, who was like doing her ultrasound, is in this community somehow of like
what the fuck?
50 other people or 100 other people.
And
where it's
why
like, what are the chances
callback?
of that?
Yeah.
What are the chances that she survived? Why do we need that callback? Like obviously you're just hammering home the theme of like her character development into like becoming a good mother or whatever.
Yeah.
But you really didn't need that. Like it's so contrived. The ending is terrible.
Also, so there's
the whole
basically an indoor-outdoor space where there's kind of this inner courtyard to the school for the blind, and there's like a trellis would be the word for it, that's overgrown with vegetation. So essentially it functions as like blocking out everything, but sunlight still filters through. Yeah. So it's like they get to be protected, but outdoors. And I was thinking, there were a few cracks where the vegetation isn't growing perfectly. I don't know about all that.
Totally.
This movie, my review is, well, I don't know about all that.
I'm not convinced.
Also, I made a note in my phone. I'm like, when there were timestamps on the river, like 42 hours on the river. Yeah. I'm like, damn, that's how it feels to record an episode of this podcast. Let's cut to a quick break and then come back with our closing notes on this.
All right.
Hell yeah. So George, I have a very thought-provoking question for you.
Ooh.
Would you rather be in the world of A Quiet Place or Bird Box?
Ooh.
And why?
Ooh, that's a very good question. Probably A Quiet Place, right? Where I feel like it's easier to be super quiet rather than not have to and not see when you go outside, right?
So I guess knowing how both of the movies end, I would pick A Quiet Place because you know how you can destroy and kill
True.
what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Because they like overexpose the creatures to sound, right? How do you kill them?
That's right.
It's something with
they play the brown noise.
Yeah, they play the brown note, and all the creatures shit themselves to death. Before we started recording, you asked me, what's the term for when you shit yourself to death? And I'm like, I don't know, dude. I was unaware there was a medical term. But we figured out that you were talking about dysentery, where people often do do themselves to death. That's crazy. Yeah, I'd rather be in A Quiet Place, probably.
Yeah, Quiet Place, for sure. I think. Yeah, because in the world of Bird Box, you just have to stay indoors like the whole time, right? And you basically can never go outside again. Yeah, because there's no way of killing these creatures.
Staying indoors, both no internet, is twisted.
Yeah, man. Yeah. But we were talking about other senses, movies that you can make around the deprivation.
I mean, they've really done pretty much everything that would be interesting to film.
Yeah. Because the only other ones left are smell.
Which is very hard to visually do.
Right, and then hearing, I guess. Could be something, but...
if you really wanted it to be, but... Yeah, I think not being able to make noise and not being able to see are definitely the most exciting ones to film. What did you think of Sandra Bullock in this movie?
I thought she was pretty good, man.
I thought, she was definitely... I feel like the acting she gave, she thought she was in like a good movie.
Yes, totally.
Yeah, no, I liked her. Honestly,
very believable as a mother.
Hot take, I'm not really a Sandra Bullock fan.
Yeah.
I'm not as in love with her as everybody seems to be.
I'm not really
She's fine.
Swept away with her either.
She's fine.
It was very funny when the like young, jacked male who the group, he's just like reluctantly like, yeah, like, you know, you and I, we would have probably like met up in the real world without this apocalypse having happened. And Sandra Bullock's just like, you really think so? And dude's just like, yeah, I don't know.
So that was Tom saying that, right?
Yeah.
So I realized Tom I know him from Moonlight, where he portrays the central character as a drug dealer in the final timeline.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He's so jacked.
I
want him to drop his post-apocalypse workout plan.
The new workout plan. It doesn't strike me that Sandra Bullock would be his type in the real world.
Right.
Outside of the Tupacalypse.
I think it's kind of just necessity. As we see from MGK piping down that girl he pipes.
Right.
I wanted to know more about MGK in the apocalypse.
Totally. I just want to follow him. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what Bird Box Barcelona should have been.
It's him moving to Spain.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? I feel like I had one last thing to complain about with this movie. I'm kind of drawing a blank. I pretty much said all of my main issues with it. I think, some of the visuals, especially on the river, or the idea of like taking a break from the river to go like look for supplies on the shore and then getting back in the boat, that was tense. But again, all of this, when you actually think about it critically and like, wait, are the rules of this world consistent? Does this make any sense?
Like for me, the thing I don't like about movies like this, like apocalypse movies, is that they can just get very like survival type movies.
Right.
They can just get a little bit boring and like repetitive, and like, I don't know, I can only sustain my attention about like someone scavenging for supplies and having like close calls for so long. Like to me, I'm more interested in like character interplay between characters and like emotional sort of development and scenes that have emotion. So I don't know. Yeah, this is why I like the past timeline a bit more than you did. Maybe I think I just like I don't know. Sandra Bullock looking for shit in like houses and like them having to like wrestle with the river and stuff, and like it's not that fun to.
I would say this movie is maybe a little long for what it is. I think they probably could have told this story in like 100 minutes.
Yeah,
I think
totally.
A bit could have been trimmed.
For sure. Yeah, definitely from the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, they stays its welcome. Overstays its welcome.
Yeah, I did find this kind of creepy though.
Yes.
Maybe it was also watching it like very late at night.
Some of the KMS scenes were pretty good.
Yeah.
The lady.
The KMS scenes.
The lady KMSing like in the car, like just like just entering the fiery car and like burning to death.
Yes.
It's pretty disturbing.
That was pretty strong. Posting on Reddit, yo, this shit make you KMS for real, for real. Common post-apocalypse L.
What if women and men see different things? Like the monster is gendered, so like
right.
So men, they see like
what are men most scared of?
So it's the JPEG of the dude with like his huge hog hanging off the bed.
I think everyone sees that when they look at the monster.
And they just want to KMS. And then women, I don't know, who's like a really like, maybe Adele when she got like skinny and hot, where it's like she's
Adele.
talented and she's fucking hot now. I can't compete with that. You were supposed to be one of us.
The jump scare seeing I don't know where that image is first from.
Yeah.
Like, presumably a porno, but
yeah.
That's so funny. Like, that image became so widespread, and it's like everybody instantly knows what you're talking about.
Yes.
Like, I'm sure most of our listeners are like, oh yeah, the dude on the bed with the huge hog.
What's like the shorthand for wood hanging off bed or something like that, I think?
Oh, I don't know what it's like titled as.
Because I remembered it the other day, and then I wanted to like look it up, and I was trying to like use different search terms on, and I think the shorthand for it on Reddit, which is where you can still find it, is like wood hanging off bed or something.
And I've seen references to that a lot, like on Instagram, where it's strategically cropped to be safe for work, but you know what you're looking at.
Yeah.
It's almost like the absence of that makes it more impactful.
Exactly, just like Bird Box, the absence of the monster makes it more impactful.
Yeah. No, I do really think they needed to show what the monster is by the end.
For sure.
I do feel a bit cheated in a horror movie when you never see the monster.
No. Yeah.
I think after a certain point, you have to show it.
I know.
You should be legally obligated to show it.
Unless the whole point of your movie, like it comes at night, is to not show it.
Which,
and to make you question.
I totally forget if I've said this on pod. My hot take, there was a monster and it comes at night.
Right.
And there is one particular frame, if any of our listeners want to argue with me, there is one particular frame of the movie where if you pause it and you circle something, it does look like a monster in the woods.
Right.
It's so bizarre for that to just be like a wood formation. It does look like something is sitting out there.
Yeah.
Anyway,
which they probably added purposefully to make you like...
To drive people like me insane.
Yeah, to actually make you question the validity of the monster.
It Comes at Night is really good.
It's a good movie, yeah. But like,
don't watch Bird Box, watch It Comes at Night if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, so unless it's like the point of your movie, just show the monster.
Yeah, I think It Comes at Night was really, really scary.
Yeah, it was creepy. I remember it being pretty creepy.
Yeah, I found it very disturbing and like tense.
That was like one of the most fascinating, I think, movies, like the release of a movie, because the whole lead up to the release of that movie was just like, this is a horror movie. This is a monster movie.
Yeah.
And then you watch it and you realize like, oh, we're never gonna see the monster. Yeah. And the whole point of the movie is that there might not be a monster.
Yeah, and the titular like, it is kind of like the paranoia and distrust of the situation they're in.
So it's like, I don't know, it was such a it played with expectations in the lead up to its release in such a interesting way that I think pissed a lot of people off, where people were like, I didn't like that because like I wanted a traditional horror movie. Yeah,
I feel like there are certain movies, like I recall when Drive came out, it was kind of being marketed as like there's gonna be a lot of action in this, and then it was not that at all.
Yeah,
but it's like sometimes you almost need to market something as if it's more mainstream to draw people in, and then hopefully enough people end up enjoying it that there's good word of mouth.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, there are definitely normies who are like, that fucking sucked.
Yeah, man.
I feel cheated.
I hate when people automatically go to like, oh, it sucked, when your expectations are subverted.
Yeah.
Where it's like, just because it's not what you expected doesn't mean it sucked.
Yeah.
It could actually be better.
Totally,
because it wasn't what you expected. But I think a lot of people go to like, this was bad because it was not.
Because it wasn't what I envisioned.
Yeah.
And therefore it's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, Remember Me is a good movie when Arpats dies in 9/11 at the very end, unrelated to anything that's happened so far.
Right.
We're obsessed with the movie Remember Me. What a piece of shit. Real quick, have you seen the Sandra Bullock movie 28 Days Later, where she's like this hard-partying reporter who goes to rehab?
28 Days later?
Or, sorry, 28 Days.
28 days. No.
28 Days referring to a short rehab stay.
No, I did not.
It's alright.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Okay.
It's kind of compelling.
28 days. Wow. Is that released before or after 28 Days Later?
I don't know, because I've definitely mixed up those titles in conversation for it, and I feel like they probably came out around the same time.
Yeah.
A real Quiet Place Bird Box type thing.
Yeah, at this point, having a number in your title is like, I don't know. I think the market of, it's like there's too many podcasts. I think there's too many movies with numbers in the title.
Too many numbers.
Like, you can't do it anymore. The SEO is just way too difficult.
Yeah, the SEO is pretty abysmal.
Yeah.
Much like naming a podcast, How Original, when you search How Original Podcast on most platforms. Yeah, have you ever tried to Google our pod? It's not good. You get a million results for like, what was the first podcast?
Yes.
Fuck.
Yes. Yeah.
If only we'd been the first podcast ever. That would be great. If only we had invented a medium.
Yeah.
Do you want to recommend any other media you've consumed? Because I actually have a really good book recommendation.
Well, I'm playing a video game, actually. That's really fucking
Love
good.
it. Yeah, get into
called, Immortality. You would love this game. You're... I guess you don't really know who you are in this game, but you are...
I love it already.
Yeah. It's just like me, dude. I don't know
who I am day to day.
I don't know, you're someone who is trying to figure out what happened to this, like, actress who was, so you get a little bio of her at the beginning. So she starred in, like, this exploitation period piece, and you watch, like, these movies that she was in, and she's naked in a lot of the scenes.
Okay. Nice.
So she started this, like, period piece, and then she went... That movie never got released. You don't know why. She goes on to do a movie with, like, the DP of that movie.
Okay.
And that movie doesn't get released either. There's
some lost media here.
And she stars in another movie several years later with that same DP, and that also doesn't get released. So you're just like, what happened to this actress? Why aren't any of these movies released?
That sounds super interesting.
And yeah, like, so the actual gameplay is... you're scrubbing through footage from these three
So
movies.
the gameplay is you have 12 tabs of pornography open and you're scrubbing through all of them. Switching from tab to tab.
Listening for coded messages.
This sounds wild, dude.
No, so the game, so they recorded basically, like, I don't know, I want to say like 30 minutes of each of these movies.
Whoa.
And it gives you maybe like 1 to 2 minutes at a time. So here's how it works. It gives you one clip, right? So you start with one clip of the movie. You watch it through. You can rewind. You can fast forward. You can go into like investigation mode in the clip.
Whoa.
And you can choose an item. So you can choose someone's face, or like a coffee cup, or like a sword, or like you can even choose the thing that goes like cut.
Yeah.
And then
what is the name of that?
I don't know, like a board? I don't know.
Man.
And then
listeners, right in.
And then it gives you another clip from any one of those movies, so it doesn't have to be like in sequential order. It gives you another clip with that same object in it. So that's the gameplay.
That sounds incredibly unique.
It's super unique, dude. And they recorded so much for this, and the actors are actually genuinely good. And so it's not all movie clips. You also get like interview clips, and you get like rehearsal footage that they did like leading up to the movies. And you get footage from like when they were just fucking around and like just playing with the camera and stuff. So like and at first you're kind of like floundering and you don't really know what you're looking for, but you're sort of slowly piecing together like what these movies were like, what these like people were like, the actors, the director, and eventually you uncover something that is like kind of changes the whole game. So there's a bit of a twist, and then you start looking through the clips and you start looking for this particular thing in these clips. So eventually it all starts to come together, but it's very like exploratory. There's no like direct path. You're kind of floundering for a lot of it. So a lot of the enjoyment of the game has to come from just like your investment in these characters and in this
Yeah.
story. Because there's no like traditional objective, you know, you have to find all the coins, you have to whatever, get to the last boss. You're just kind of like experiencing the story in sort of a gamey way.
That sounds wild.
But dude, I'm
So-
addicted to that game.
Sorry, this is a PC game? How do I play this?
It's very PC.
Do I have to pay? Can I just download it? Like,
You can get it on Steam.
okay, don't have Steam.
So I've been playing it on Steam.
I'll look in the PlayStation store.
I mean, Steam is like a PC thing.
Okay,
So you
yeah.
It's like an
Yeah.
it might not be on the PlayStation store. Yeah, I'm not
Okay.
sure where it's available, but
What if I just watch a video walkthrough of this game?
I mean, you could. You actually could.
I watch a Twitch stream of somebody playing this.
You scrub through the.
I scrub. Who scrubs the scrubbers?
Yeah.
Dude, that sounds dope.
Dude, it's such a good game. And I also watched the new Alexander Payne movie, The Holdovers, which was pretty good.
Oh, dude. Okay, so I wanted to watch that with my parents on New Year's, and I'm like, oh, I'll find this movie for us. It was $25 to stream on Prime.
Oh, what?
It was the same price to stream or
It's
to
like
buy it.
more than to go to the movie theater.
And I'm like, in what fucking world?
Yeah.
So we ended up watching, I think we watched a few episodes of The Morning Show, which is tragically libtarded in season 3, and I'm not going to finish it.
Right.
But yeah, that was good.
Oh, it was good. Yeah, it was good.
Nice.
It was very, like, satisfying. It's exactly what you'd expect.
From the trailers.
From that director.
Perfect.
And it just delivers on everything that it tries to do.
Very nice.
Yeah, very satisfying.
Yeah, that's on my list. There are a few things I want to see. I'll watch that when it actually fully comes to Prime or whatever, and I don't have to pay extra for it.
It's just a good... It's a very vibe-heavy movie. It's just a great vibe.
That's like a
you
good
just want to keep existing in that movie.
The premise is like the kid and the teacher are stuck at school over the break.
Yeah.
That's a great vibe.
Yeah.
Great premise.
Exactly, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I read a book. I did a speed run of a book, I think in like 72 hours. Daughter by Claudia Day, Canadian writer. I really loved this book. It kind of reminded me of the movie Closer in some ways. The way it's like this small group of characters who are very codependent on each other, and the kind of dynamics and the allegiances keep shifting between scenes, but it's always within the same permutation of people.
Right.
It's about the daughter of a renowned novelist who is kind of like the classic white male novelist who only really did one thing that was well received many years ago. It's a book called Daughter. And she's always felt like desperate for her father's love. And the book opens, I think the first sentence is like, my father only talks to me when he's like betraying himself in his life. So it's talking about how they grew very close when the dad was having one of the few affairs he has throughout the book, and like confides in his daughter, and then causes tensions with his other daughters, and like, it's really, really good. The main character is a playwright, and I think there's a lot of interesting content about like the creative process and the writing life, and like how it's, you know, processing what actually happens to you in life. Very compelling characters, very frustrating characters. You kind of want to like scream at them, but incredibly well written. Very a lot of economy to the writing. It's not a long book. It's like 250 pages, 240. Definitely something you'll want to blow through in a couple days. But that's a fairly new book. My mom got it at the Vancouver Writers Festival back in October. Nice. Claudia Day, Daughter, would highly recommend that.
Sounds good.
Very compelling read.
Cool.
And then movie-wise, honestly, haven't really done much for movie watching in the new year. I did see the new Mission Impossible.
Oh, yeah.
I won't lie and say it's a great movie, but he did that jump for real.
Right.
It's crazy. I cannot stop thinking about Tom Cruise doing that motorcycle jump where he falls and then parachutes onto the train.
For real.
For real. It's mind-blowing. Definitely a movie that's like incredibly stupid on a plot level and overly long. And it's part 1 of 2. Right. So it's like you watch a 2.5 hour movie and it's like, we're just getting started.
Oh shit, I forgot it was part 1 of 2. I thought there was already a part 1 of 2 and this was the second part that was coming out. Maybe not.
No, this is explicitly set up to be... Didn't Harry Potter do a 2-movie thing for movie 7?
Oh, that's right, the last one.
So
it was a 2-part.
So when we get to season 7 of the podcast, it'll have to be split into 2 huge seasons.
Totally.
Speaking of, do you think we should do like 1 or 2 more for season 3 and then take a week break?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
That feels right.
That'd be nice. Yeah,
Cool.
okay. I think that pretty much does it.
All right.
So we don't know what we're going to do for next week.
No.
We need to determine that.
There's a few new things that came out, I thought.
I feel like there's actually been kind of a flood of new content, so I think we should try to pick something very current.
For sure.
It was fun to go back into the late 2010s, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I forgot. There's a few things
We
I saw.
review the trivia game.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, no, it
Yeah,
looks
we'll-
like there's some good new stuff, so we'll take a look.
The BitCon documentary.
Ooh. We could do Jewel and BitCon. I still want to do the Jewel documentary.
Oh, Bird Box Barcelona just dropped.
Apparently.
Whoa.
Who is hungry for more Bird Box?
Right?
So insane.
Wow.
Anyway, that's it for now.
All right.
Bye.
Nice.